our panel to take a look at this very big issue, security. From our Abuja studios, we're being joined by Mr. Femi Adesina, the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity. We also have there one of the Chibok parents, and that's talking about Mr. John Bassa. Both of you are welcome to the program. Here in Lagos, we have a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, Mr. Tunji Kolkrick. Thank you so much for being with us. Now, let's
not forget our studio audience.
Oh,
remember,
I'm sorry. I do apologize.
Yes.
I should have started actually from here in Lagos.
Yes.
In our audience here, we have a cross-section ranging from labor to NGOs and civil society. We have economists.
And we also have students as well.
Students there, political
That's right.
scientists. And so, I mean, there's a broad mix of people who will be having this argument today. But let's get the argument going. Mr. Adesina, you listened to that report. Is it a fair comment on how this administration has done in the last 4 years in terms of security?
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. Yes, security is a challenge for the country. It was a challenge in 2015 when the administration came. It's still a challenge today, but I think to a lesser extent in certain areas. In 2015, the most prevalent security issue was insurgency. But today, if you want to be honest and if you want to be truthful, you agree that the insurgency is not at the same intensity today as it was in 2015. But then, there are other frontiers of insecurity that have opened up. Banditry, kidnapping, farmers' husband clashes, and some others. They were not that prevalent in 2015. So you find more frontiers of challenges opening up over the years. But the one that the administration met in 2015, to a large extent, it has made gains. It's not completely eradicated, but it's not as virulent as it was in 2015. In 2015, you could have bombs going off as many times as possible in a day, 6, 8 times in different parts of the country. That is virtually gone. Or is very few and far between. If it happens, maybe isolated cases. That used to be a daily occurrence many times in 2015. Boko Haram was in Northeast, it was in Northwest, it was in North Central, it was in the federal capital, it was at Kogi. And you could imagine that from Kogi it was going into Southwest, from Southwest to South-South, and the whole country was covered. What would then have remained of the country? But the administration took the battle to Boko Haram till it got to a point where it could confidently say, yes, this insurgency is degraded, this insurgency is technically defeated. It's not eradicated, it's not wiped out, but the intensity is not as it was in 2015.
Yeah, Mr.
Now you have other frontiers of insecurity.
Sorry, Mr. Adesina, if you can hear me, before you go on, let me just take you up on something you were talking about earlier. Yes, you talked about the rate of insurgency not being as it was, and we're going to ask our live audience here what they think about security today. But when you talked about banditry, looking at a state like Nasarawa alone, with the kind of weapons that they're recovering, for instance, 127 firearms, 2,235 ammunition found in one state alone. What's the government doing about the rate at which arms are in the hands of the wrong people?
Well, it's also not a recent phenomenon. It's an old phenomenon in the country. If you recall, even during the Olusegun Obasanjo days, there was a committee set up on retrieving small arms from wrong hands. So it shows us that it's an old phenomenon. In fact, since after the Civil War, you had always had arms in wrong hands. Today, maybe it has escalated, and it is the duty of government, according to the Constitution, to maintain law and order. to guarantee safety of life and property. And one of the ways it will do that is by getting small arms, particularly from wrong hands. So
the question is, Mr. Adesina, the question is if you are satisfied with what your government has done so far to mop up arms in the hands of the wrong people. Are you satisfied with what your government has done?
You can only be satisfied when you see a de-escalation in the rate of these attacks. As long as the attacks are there, you can't be satisfied. No one can be. The president is not. So I can't be. The president himself has said it. He still said it yesterday in a meeting with Northern Governors Forum. He's not happy with the security situation in the country. Nobody is.